Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast presented by Blue Wire Podcast Network. Joining me today is Chargers offensive tackle Trey Pipkins. Trey, thanks for joining me today, man. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. I'm sure you guys are all very excited that the season is officially here. The long off season is finally over. What's the vibe as we head into week one of the regular season today for you guys?
Man, I think we're just excited. We're ready to go. Ready to hit somebody else besides somebody else in powder blue. So, yeah, I think we're all ready and just excited for it.
Yeah, normally, in the past couple of years, you've had the preseason to do that. This year, no preseason for you. Your situation obviously has changed quite a bit since last year. What's been the mindset for you now that you know you're heading into this season as the starter, as opposed to maybe kind of jockeying for a role as in years prior?
I think it's the same. I think it's just trying to continue to improve. There's always things that I want to improve on. So I think just continue to focus on those things and, yeah, just be the best that I can be. None of that's gonna change.
Yeah. Obviously, last year playing next to Zion, that obviously is was kind of a work in progress. He's now back with the left. Jamaree back in at right guard. How has that relationship been for you guys so far this summer?
That's awesome. I think it's gonna be really good. Yeah, both those guys are so flexible, so they can really play anywhere. And I think it's going to be really good for those guys. And we've gotten the opportunity to build a really good relationship and a really good foundation for the season. So I think we're just ready to show it off.
There we go. Really looking forward to seeing this unit come together. Coach Nugent talked with Eric Smith a few weeks ago about how intentional they've been in kind of fitting physical profiles on each of the two sides. How would you kind of describe the strength of you and Jamaree working together at this point?
I think we both set in similar ways. We're a little more, I'd say the left side's a little more freak athlete, and we're a little more size and play to our size, and that's kind of our biggest strength. And so, yeah, I think we set in a similar way, and we're both can move people in the run game and things like that. So I think that's what he was referring to, and I think that's going to be really good for our chemistry.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about the run game and the identity. We talked to Joshua Kelly a few weeks ago about how the running backs are super excited to get downhill more often. To me, that kind of plays to your strengths in particular. How has the adjustment been from maybe years past to what Kellen Moore has brought in this year for you personally?
Yeah, I think honestly the adjustment hasn't been too crazy. He's been really good about doing stuff that focusing on what we're going to be really good at and trying to harp on those things and specialize in those things. So I think that's helped a lot because, again, it is stuff that we are, I think we're going to be really good at. And so it's really good just to focus on those things. So it's not as much you have to worry about so many different things as more our specialty.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's just a greater emphasis in general on the run game this year? Or do you feel like as a room that you guys always kind of talk about the run game plenty and this year is just kind of maybe refocusing the goals, sort of, so to speak?
I mean, I think the mindset's always the same. Like, you want to dominate the run game and things like that. I think there's a little more, I don't know what to call it, maybe excitement just for the scheme and stuff that we're doing. I think it's going to be really good for us. I think we can all we've all felt it throughout training camp where we're like, oh, this is really nice. And we like how it's fitting up and stuff like that. And we can see the vision. So I think that provides a little more excitement and things like that. But the mindset's always been the same.
Yeah. There's a lot of excitement amongst Chargers fans. Obviously, the team ran for 600 yards in the preseason, which was, I think, the most from a team since like 2000. I don't know if you saw that stat.
Crazy. Yeah, I did see that stat. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is super awesome because there's not even, none of the core starters are out there. Obviously, Zion and Jamaree were out there. Talk to me a little bit about those depth guys. Foster, Jordan McFadden, Will Clapp, Brennan Hymas, obviously kind of the guys behind you. What did you see from them in the preseason this year?
I mean, they were locked in, I feel like, the preseason. And that's really good to see because at some point during the season, I feel like you're going to need depth at some point. O-line's just a position where you're going to get dinged up. Things are going to happen. And so you're going to need – those guys are going to have to play at some point and get snaps. And just seeing them out there just handling their business and being locked in like that just gives everybody all the confidence in the world that they're going to be able to do that during the season.
Yeah, I think the team has really done a good job emphasizing the flexibility behind that second unit. Seeing a guy like Foster move positions, Jordan move positions, I think just kind of gives some confidence in that regard. You mentioning going up against other players is obviously getting you guys excited. What's it been like this summer going against Joey and Khalil? Both of them talked about adding some extra weight this season. How has it been like for you going up against those two guys with the work that they put in the offseason?
I mean, obviously those guys are two of the best in the business. So it's such a blessing, I feel like, to get to go against those guys, because then nothing you see during the season is like bothers you at all. You're like, oh, I've been blocking Joey much of this whole training camp and going against the best of the best. So there's nothing really to be concerned with. So those guys are always really good at telling us what they're seeing and asking us questions, and we ask them questions, and it really just makes both sides better. And I think it's a real winning edge for us.
I think one thing I'm curious to get your thoughts on is just kind of like snap count timing, because I feel like there's been so much emphasis on guys, and like, Jawan Taylor in particular is like, he's offsides, he's false starting. What's that process for you like in terms of collaborating with the officials, collaborating with Joey, who's great at timing, snap counts? Yeah. Talk to me about that process of getting off the ball at the right time.
I mean, it's such an advantage to be able to get off the snap count and be a little bit of ahead of the defense and things like that. So that's why it's so important, and that's something that we try to work on a lot, is really timing up as a unit, being just slightly not early, but right as the ball's getting snapped. So then if everybody can move at the same time, it kind of, even if you're a little early, it kind of helps with the officials not really calling it if everybody's moving at the same time. That where you get a little sticky is, one person looks wildly in front of all the other people, and so that's where it gets a little sticky. But at that point, I feel like it's all A, how much you can butter up the officials, and B, what your name is, honestly. Like some people are gonna let it slide, gonna get it. The rest are gonna let it slide with some people, not with other people. It just is what it is. So we all try to figure out a way to gain that advantage of getting off the snap count as early as possible.
Well, hopefully that new contract can give you some new name recognition. We can get some buttering up of the officials this year.
Yeah, for real. We'll see. Hopefully I can use that to my advantage.
Yeah. When a center switches, how does that affect that whole thing? Because obviously Corey missed a couple games last year. Will Clapp comes in. Does that change things at all for you in terms of the snap count?
Not really, no. I mean, Will does a great job of like mirroring Corey, and I think any good backup center, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to emulate exactly what the starting center is doing, and Will does a great job with that. So it doesn't really affect us at all on the edges or anything like
that. Week to week, right? So you mentioned your Joey and Khalil. That's who you're facing mostly this week. Heading into this week, I should say. This week you get Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. How does the process change for you to going from, all right, we're practicing against our guys, to, okay, we know who we're playing this week and on a week-to-week basis? What is like launch point, timing point? How does that all change on a week-to-week basis?
I mean, I think it's all film study. Like, we obviously know Joey and Khalil very well because we play against them every day. And so, like, there's not a lot of, when we watch film, we're watching our own technique and stuff like that. We're not really watching them because we kind of know what they do. And so week to week, you're locked in on what your opponent's going to be doing. And so you're trying to get little keys on them. You're trying to see what they like to go to. You're trying to see what moves they like to counter with and things like that. So I think that's the big thing that changes when you go to play somebody else, is that obviously you don't know them as well as you know your own teammates. And so you have to really lock in on the film part and try to get to know them as best you can.
Specifically with these guys coming in, you've played against Bradley Chubb a few times. You missed the game against Miami last year, so I don't think you've played against Jalen Phillips yet. What's the challenge from those two guys, what you've seen so far?
I mean, both of those guys are obviously, Bradley Chubb's obviously a well-established guy, and Jalen has come on strong in his first couple of years here. And so I think just the challenge with guys like that is guys that I haven't played yet. It's kind of, you can watch film and things like that, but you also have to feel it out in the game. Like when you have experienced people in game, it's a lot different than on the film. And so the challenge with a guy like Jalen is obviously you can see his ability on film and things like that. And so when I get onto the field, I'm just going to have to be able to adjust to whatever he's throwing at me that game, and whatever I feel in the moment, I got to be able to adjust on the fly. And a guy like Bradley, I mean, just all the respect in the world for both those guys, but a guy like Bradley is obviously well established. So I think he has that respect factor, and he has the film, but I've also played against him a couple times, so I have a little more experience against a guy like that. So both those guys present different challenges, and we'll be ready for it.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys will. How quickly does that feeling out process click together for you? Is it like a couple series? Is it like halftime? Like, what is that process like for you?
I mean, it really just depends. It's kind of like because I mean, a DN's kind of doing the same thing. They're trying to feel out like how you're throwing your hands, how your set pattern is, things like that. And so it's kind of like a chess game. What you want to show them versus what they're giving you and things like that. So you just kind of have to play it out as the whole game goes on and just be able to adjust to, say you get a little beat in a situation like that. You're like, all right, what happened? What did I do? What did he do? What might he come back to because that happened? You know what I mean? So you kind of got to think strategically in that matter and just go with the flow.
All right, sounds good. So that's we'll get out of the football talk. We'll do some rapid fire questions here to wrap up the interview. Can't thank you enough again for joining us today. Let's start with this one. Song you have on repeat right now.
Recently it's been "This Is" by LMA. That's been on repeat in my wife and I's car for the last couple months, probably.
Who's the best DJ on the team?
Best DJ. Slay's a good DJ. Derwin's a good DJ. I feel like Derwin's on the Hawks a lot, so I'll give it to Derwin.
All right, sounds good. Favorite stadium that you've played in your career?
That's tough. The old Coliseum was pretty cool in Oakland. Honestly, playing in Mexico City my rookie year was sweet. That was it was just so different, but it was so many people. It was really cool to play in that like soccer stadium down there.
Thanks for having me.
I would say those are the two big ones. I'm excited to go to Lambeau this year. Excited about that one. Just being from the Midwest, that'll be cool. But yeah, I feel like those are the big ones.
Was the Mexico City, was that your first start or was
that was my first start? Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Good
Crazy
times there. Yeah. All right. If you could travel back in time, what time period would you go to?
Am I my same age?
Yeah, same age. Like you right now, you pick a time period. Where would you go?
All right. I think I'm going, if I'm going to be 26, I'm going to be 26 in like the early 2000s. That way I'd be like in college in like the late 90s. I think that's my time period for sure.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Harry Potter or Star Wars?
Harry Potter for sure. I'm not really a Star Wars guy. I haven't even seen a full Star Wars movie. I don't think. I don't know why. I get a lot of hate for that. but yeah, I actually just saw Harry Potter. My wife forced me to watch Harry Potter like 2 years ago, and I got like super locked into it. It was really good. So I gotta go Harry Potter.
There we go. All right, some good rapid fire questions with Trey. Last one. This is a big one. Our listeners love this. What are your thoughts on In-N-Out at this point in your life?
In-N-Out. Great for a cheap burger. Fries are super below average. The burger is great for like a cheap burger. It's not matching up with like Five Guys, but for a cheap burger, it's good. The fries are really subpar.
I have to say I agree. So I get a lot of hate on the show for that, but it's okay. It is what it is.
Hey, you gotta own it. You gotta be yourself.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Trey, thanks so much for joining me, and that's going to do it for us. Chargers fans, obviously looking forward to seeing you back on the field, and of course, wishing you a very healthy season in 2023.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course.